and Grandpa. Let's wander back into the past, then paint me the picture of long ago.
Welcome to Hill Farms. My name is Jeff Hill and I'd like to take you on an incredible journey back in time. It's the story of our farm. My family has farmed this land for the last 81 years. Our farm has stood witness to a nation in transition, and we have changed with the times to be part of that history. This is a father and son telling their story to a future unborn generation. We currently have 3 generations actively farming the land. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to the man representing the oldest of our living generations. He's one of the oldest active Christmas tree growers in the United States, my father, Larry Hill. So, Dad, here we are. A lot to go over. 81 years is a long time to be in any business, let alone farming.
Sure.
So you're the son of a milkman, and your grandfather was an iceman, started to fight for ice dams over in East Whitesport. And how do you get to a farm from being a milkman's son, and how did they get to it in the businesses that they were in, a milkman and an iceman?
Well, I guess it's in my family's blood. I mean, we were always people that were looking for another way to make a living or to make some money on the side. And of course, this idea of Christmas trees came through the partner in the business, Joe Gerhardt. He came from New Hampshire. In those days, people used to go up there to cut trees. And he had this idea, and he thought, why couldn't we raise them on the farm down here? So he got Nelson Bus Pfeiffer interested in it, and the two of them decided that they would start raising some trees. In fact, the first ones they tried, or where a lot of people are familiar with, the Pfeiffer ice dams. There were some open fields there. They were rather swampy, which they thought would be good, but they put the trees in and found out the first winter they all died.
So now, when was that? That was...
that would have been 1937.
1937. So you're talking about, this is still well in the grips of the Great Depression.
Right. It was in the grips there. Things were tough for them.
Right.
Then they heard about this farm. A piece of land was for sale out in Lehigh Valley. So they decided to take a chance on it. And it was quite a chance for them. Now, the price of the farm was only $300, but you know, when you say $300, $300 in those days wasn't $300 now.
So, Uncle Bus, Joe Gerhardt, any education? Did they go to college? Did they finish high school?
Uncle Bus went to high school and to college. He graduated from a school called Bleckley, which isn't in existence anymore. In fact, he played football for one of the coach was one of the 4 horsemen of Notre Dame, and he was a lineman. And from there, he graduated. He got into the Pennsylvania National Guard and got the honor of being one of the governor's guards. He was a big guy. He was like 6'2". They picked these fellows for that. They had a fancy uniform, and everywhere the governor was in parades or anything, they were there. They were mounted horsemen. And like I said, he was part of the 28th Division. He rode to be a captain in the 28th Division.
So he had a college education.
He had a college.
You don't remember what
Joe Gerhardt was he had a college education.
But what the college degree?
I'm not sure what the degree was. He used it to get into the insurance industry.
Okay. And Joe Gerhardt?
Joe Gerhardt was a laboring man. He was a welder by trade, and hardworking man, a tough man, in fact. And he was just an outdoorsman. He just liked. He always said, "I'll do the farm work and you do the business." He used to tell Uncle Bus.
Well, this was at a time a lot of people didn't even have a high school education. I guess they dropped out of
most
school.
Most people.
So college
like my mother only got to
unique.
8th grade, you know.
Yeah, so that's not a lot of the farmers I know growing up here.
Right.
They an 8th or 9th grade education was a commonplace thing.
That was
so you became
common,
a tradesman and worked that way. So you had the brains and the brawn kind of came together here.
Yeah,
with an idea.
They did, and it was particularly tough. My uncle had a little better job as an insurance man. He worked in Allentown. And Joe, it was hard for he and his wife to come up with the money, really. Like I said, people were earning like 25 cents an hour.
People were barely staying in their houses during this
They were barely
period.
staying in their homes, right? So $300 was a fortune. You could buy a home for $300. And this was a rundown farm. If you would have seen what this looked like in the first place, I mean, it didn't look like a lot of it. There was erosion ditches. The grass was growing wild. The farmers, in fact, they just wanted to dump the land. They didn't want to pay the taxes. Because even the small tax on farmland was tough for them.
Well, people were losing their homes, so...
Yeah, they were just trying to dump land, you know. So these two fellows took this chance, and they got this farm. And like I said, there was no fertilizer on it for generations.
Well, farming was a lot different back then.
Right, it was a
Didn't
rundown
have the equipment
farm.
and
They plowed up and down the hills. I saw there was erosion.
well, because that was the easy way to plow.
Well, they plowed the easiest way. They
Yeah.
didn't consider the soils.
And it was hard to do that, but it was the easiest way, and that's.
And
what
the
they
fact
did.
is, they didn't make any money on the land, so they didn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it boiled down to.
So that's interesting. So we'll end this session right here, and our next session, what we're going to get into farming during the Great Depression. You know, how they were able to get started, survive, you know, and ultimately thrive in an industry that was really just a young industry getting started, the Christmas tree farms. So there wasn't a lot of history for them to really go back on. So they were kind of blazing a trail here.
The beginning years were
in our
tough
age.
for them because my uncle was going to end up in the service, and
Yeah.
Joe, of course, sadly is going to.
So we'll touch on all that stuff in our next episode. So if you like what you're hearing here, this is going to be the history of our farm, 81 years, a lot of interesting stuff, how our farm related to what was going on in the country, and you know, it's a story we want our family to know, and you can join along with us and tune in for the next episode.
Grandpa, tell me about the good old